Hey everybody, it's Dave here. Welcome. Today I'm going to do a ride along down Highway 87. Sometimes we call this the Beeline Highway. From Payson, Arizona all the way down to Sycamore Creek area. And this is a long ride. I'm going to try and keep as much of the ride as I can. It starts off in Payson, coming down the Beeline. We're going to come up to a little town here at the bottom called Rye as we go through some different little communities. But this is just a beautiful drive, and I know some of you probably have made this ride before. We do this drive a lot as we come down off of the, from Woods Canyon Lake area through Payson, and then come back to the valley. And I just thought this was such a beautiful day to come down. It was in June, and we'd had a lot of rain earlier, and everything was so green. I just wanted to let you watch this. Give you a little forewarning here, though. This coming down out of Payson or coming up into Payson, this is quite a little steep grade here. I'm not sure exactly what it is, whether it's a 6% grade or 7% grade, but it's a pretty good grade. In fact, you can hear my RV motor whining on the way down. I usually set it on tow haul mode and use the tow haul mode to kind of help it keep itself in check, because I think I was pulling the trailer with the quad. It's about, let's say about a 50-minute drive from Payson to the bottom of where Sycamore Creek area. It's about a 45, 50-minute drive. Definitely a pretty drive. A lot of neat little communities through here. There's Rye and then Sunflower you go through. So I'm not going to play any music. I'm just going to let you enjoy the ride. Once in a while I may come on and just make a comment about something along the side of the road. There are some places off to the side here where you can boondock once you get down the hill out of Payson. As you get down to that little town Rye, there's a couple of places off to the west of there that I've never tried before, but I've always thought about going over there and trying some of those. The thing is, right in this area, you're about 4,800 foot elevation, I believe. Not having my map handy with me, but I know it drops from about 5,200 in Payson, 5,300 feet down to about 4,500 feet. And you do notice it, especially in the summertime, you'll notice starting to warm up as you go down a little bit lower, especially in June and July. The best time of the year if you wanted to camp up in here is, April, May, and June, early part of June if the weather's nice. Otherwise, it really starts warming up in through here. Not unusual for this area to get up into the hundreds once in a while. And if you're pulling a trailer, be extra careful coming down or even coming up too, but especially coming down, because people, I tell you, sometimes they just get carried away and they fly down this road. I'm probably going 55, 60, keeping it in check, but I'll have people with big trailers just fly right by me, pulling toy haulers and stuff, and they're going 70, 75 miles an hour down this road, and it just scares me to death, because I know as you get down the hill, and you'll see in just a minute, there's some really sharp turns, so you do want to be careful and use some caution coming down this road. There's a lot of accidents happen. But definitely a beautiful drive. So sit back and relax, enjoy. And this is the trip down the Beeline Highway. I love that, Beeline. I don't know how it ever got that name, but that's what it's always been called for years that I remember. Highway 87 goes down, eventually comes down the hill and goes in through Fountain Hills. And if you keep taking the Beeline over, it'll run into, East Mesa, connecting up with the Superstition Freeway, the 202. Enjoy. I'm not going to play any music, so I'll just let you kind of sit back and pretend like you're just riding along. I didn't really do any narration while we were driving, so.
door to the valley is like having
Right.
your big rut.
Well, yeah, unless you got it covered.
Yeah.
Well, there's not much you can do. And in just a minute, we'll be coming through a little community called Rye. Population, oh, probably about 1,000, 1,200, somewhere in that area. Um, there's some little shops here, little mobile home community area. There's an auto place off to the left up here, sells cars and stuff, and also an RV repair lot just on to the left up there. So can keep that in mind as you come down the hill. A lot of folks coming up from Roosevelt Lake. This is a popular area where they come up from Roosevelt and then turn to go to the valley right here, the Junction. Then you make your way up up in the area around Mount Ord. It's called right in there, and it's a real pretty little drive through here in just a minute. Okay, right on the video right there, you look off to the left. There was a couple of mobile home parks and a RV repair place over there. So keep that in mind if you're ever coming down here. I even think there's a storage facility there where some people we know, they store their travel trailers there. And then when they come up from the valley, they pick up their travel trailers and take them up into the mountains. Kind of handy to keep them there. I don't know how much they charge or anything like that, but definitely something to check into if that's something you want to do. And some places off to the right up here where you can go off into, I think this is all Tonto National Forest area off to the right in the west here. As we start to turn, you'll see Mount Ord just ahead. And we'll be going through that in a few minutes. Little side note, watch your speed through here. It is very tempting to start going fast. And I know this from experience. Years ago, probably 20 years ago, my wife and I and our kids were coming up through here, and I just got a little carried away. I started going a little too fast, and next thing I know, I saw lights in my rearview mirror. Luckily, I wasn't going too fast over the speed limit because they just gave me a warning. So I always make sure to slow down through here because it just so happened somebody was hiding in the bushes there and I didn't see them. But they do watch for the speeders coming down through because it is so tempting. You're coming off that hill and it's a straightaway, and you want to just like zoom, but don't zoom. Be careful. I don't know what the speed limit is through here. I want to say 60, 65, but I was probably going 70. Yeah, 65. I just saw the speed limit. I think I was going 70 or 75 through here. And it is a nice straightaway, though, isn't it? Wow. Enjoy. Gosh, it's beautiful. Makes me want to pack up my motorhome and get up to the White Mountains again. Not a lot of traffic today. That's kind of nice. I wonder how much traffic they had last night. You okay?
Yeah.
And coming up here in just a second, you'll see the sign for the junction. This is the turnoff if you want to go to Superior or Globe and go down that way, or Lake Roosevelt. You'll see the turnoff coming up here in just a minute. And this is the way that folks come up from the valley. This is the fastest way. Like if you're in the valley and you want to bring a boat or go to Lake Roosevelt and do some camping, this is the best way to come up through here. And you'll see a sign up here for the junction. I'm not sure what the highway number is that goes down to Lake Roosevelt. That's a pretty place. Speaking of Lake, while I'm thinking about it, if you've, it's not very high in altitude, but it's a nice little camping area. There you go. There's the rest. It says next service is like 43 miles, I think. So we're going to be going up in the mountain. There's the turnoff. That's the way you want to go. And sometimes if you look off to the left up there, you can't see it on the camera, but sometimes if you look over that way, you'll see Lake Roosevelt. Depending on what the water level is in the lake, you can actually see the lake from here.
Yeah. How often is it done to Roosevelt? So if we ever want to go to Lake Roosevelt.
And right there, that junction, there's even a couple of places where people live off this. Has some mobile home communities off there, and property and stuff that people have. But now you start climbing again. This is where we're going to make our climb up to Mount Ord. And I want to say that Mount Ord, the summit up there, is about 4,800 feet or something like that. So you do some climbing. Here we're probably about 3,000 feet, 2,700 feet. We're going to go from 3,000 foot elevation up to about 4,500 feet. So there is a pretty good climb coming up ahead. This is one of the second hills that I really don't like coming up ahead, and you'll see it in just a minute. So sit back, relax, and just be glad you're not driving.
Get with you when you move to Tucson.
Dad decided to sell it because they didn't use it that much,
Right.
and then he kicked himself for selling it.
Gotcha.
He would really like to just paid for it. But they took it up there, like on Labor Day and Memorial Day and stuff. And I just remember it was kind of warm.
Gotcha.
There were a couple of times we went up there in the van. I'd sleep outside on the cots. Once the sun went down, it wasn't. You could sleep if you were on a cot, you know.
Yeah.
You could sleep. The daytime it was hot, and when we were in the water all day. They didn't have an air conditioner in the van, so we just kind of stayed in the water all day.
Makes sense. Was there any lakes at Tucson that you guys went to?
Patagonia.
Okay. Where was it that you took your friend that needed to have the coat? Was that a boat trip?
Oh, Chris and Dave. Chris Apple.
Was that a boating
We
trip?
went to, I think we went to Lake Mead
Oh,
on that trip.
that was a long way.
It was either Lake Mead or Lake Mojave.
Now this area through here is kind of like a roller coaster. And you'll see a sign off to the right here. It says the 6% grade. Yeah, 6% grade. So you're going to be actually going up and down and up and down, and then finally back up again. It'll be the long one into Mount Ord, up to Mount Ord. And so this is, I call this, to me it's like a roller coaster because it just goes up and down and up and down, and finally you make that climb up to Mount Ord. And there is an area at the top of the hill there where you can pull off, and where a lot of big trucks will pull off and check brakes and stuff, or just cool off their engines. Not unusual in the summertime. You'll see people off to the side of the road with overheated engines. So there may even be a sign up here that'll say turn your air conditioning off to avoid overheating, which is not a bad idea, especially in the middle of the summer. Late June, July, and August, it can get pretty warm in the hundreds through here. And unless you come through in the morning, I like to come through here in the morning and get back to the valley before lunchtime, just because of the heat. But if you come through here in the afternoon, it's not unusual for it to hit 100 degrees through here. So pulling a hill when it's that hot can be kind of treacherous on your engine. So it's always a good idea also, if you're going to be traveling through here, keep some extra water in a jug, in case you need to use some for your engine, for your radiator. Seen a lot of cars pull off. Flat tires is pretty common. Overheated engines is pretty common, especially in the summer. And again, watch your brakes, watch your speed. This is pretty nice. It's not like really twisty turny like it was coming down to Payson, but there are some places up ahead where it does really start to climb. And this road, oh my goodness, I want to say 20 years ago they came through and really updated this road. It used to be a lot worse, a lot more twisty and turny, but about 20 years ago this highway got updated, and it's really now a really nice road compared to what it used to be, I remember. In fact, there's a little spot up here where you used to actually go down through a little place called Sunflower, and it was just a pretty little drive through there, but they've shut that all off now. They bypassed that whole little area, and it's probably for the better, because it did really get narrow through there. It was a pretty drive through Sunflower because of the trees and stuff, especially that huge cottonwood trees. In the fall, you'd see the leaves turning in color. There's another sign, so you know you're getting in the hills here. Now we're just about to the summit here, to the top of the hill. You'll start seeing some signs. They'll say brake check area off to the right. I'm not sure what the actual, where the summit actually is here. We may have passed it. I just didn't see it on the video. There'll be a sign. I think it's around 4,500 feet, 4,600 feet. You do notice it's starting to cool off as you get up in here. There it is. It's a little brake check area. You'll see some trucks pulled off. And it's a great little spot. Sometimes I just like to pull over and take a little restroom break or something, and then before I head down the hill. But there's a nice little spot here you can pull off. It's not really a rest area, but it's just a nice area to pull over. Yeah, there's a few trucks. And as you get up, then you'll start going down. And right there's the little turnoff to Sunflower. That, I believe that's where it is. That's the old road used to go down through Sunflower and then take you down through the creek area. I think it's Sycamore Creek, but I'm not positive on that. But just a beautiful little area. And you know, I did check on that. I think they've closed some of that road off that did go through there, because at one time I was thinking of going down and doing a drive through there, but I think they've closed off some of that old highway. When they built this new highway, they just closed all that off. I think it had to do with the fact that it was getting to be an old road. It was kind of narrow in spots. And there's some private ranches down there. They probably appreciate the not having as much traffic now. So this highway really did take a load off the old highway when they built this new road. And again, then you start climbing down here. This is kind of the final little climb or little descent down into the valley. It's kind of a gradual descent, and I gotta tell you, in the summertime, you really want to be careful through here, because we have had run into some awful thunderstorms through here. Oh my goodness! If you come through here in August, I remember coming down off the mountain. It was like in August, into July and August, and we ran into just the worst monsoon storm you could imagine through here. It was raining so hard. You couldn't even see 10 feet in front of you. That's how hard it was raining. I had to slow down to about 20 miles an hour. And we were in our older motorhome that we had, the old Bounder. And we were coming down from a camping trip up here. And it was so heavy a rain, you just wouldn't believe it.
Population is.
Not very. Sorry, I gotta be careful. Can't call them towns.
Right.
Census designated.
Tammy just asked me about Sunflower. I said, yeah, it's a census designated town. It's not really a town, or it's just a small community of people that live there, and they call it Sunflower. And of course, that was the off ramp there that goes to Sunflower, that you can drive down through the Sunflower Valley. Used to be the old road came through there. And pretty soon we'll be dropping down into a really interesting little place called Boulder Creek area. I'll show you that in just a second as we get in there. You'll notice it because you'll start to notice the rocks off to the side. Now, all on both sides of the highway here is what's called Sycamore Creek. Winds kind of in and around. The highway kind of winds around through the valley here. I think this is called Rincon Valley area, and it's about a 6% grade down through here, so it lasts for about 4 or 5 miles. Not really too steep, but you do want to be careful because sometimes your speed can get carried away on you. Notice the rocks on both sides. I think this is really interesting through here, geologically speaking. There's a couple of places that remind me of this area that are very similar. There's a place on Interstate 8 as you're going to San Diego. I think it's right out of a little place called Ocotillo. Desert Wells, maybe you're familiar with that. And you go up the hill like you're going to Julian or to Alpine. And there's a place in there. And I think it's also called Boulder Park, incidentally. And it looks a lot like this. These rocks that look like somebody just put a whole bunch of river rocks and just laid them out here. It's incredible. Maybe, who knows, maybe at one time, a million years ago, water just flowed right through here constantly and created all this river rock. Just look off to the side, you'll see what I'm talking about. This freeway, or highway, I guess you'd call it, it's not really a freeway, but it's kind of a super highway, was built, probably 20 years ago, I'm going to guess, or maybe a little more than that. But it was really nice when they did this. It used to be just 2-lane all the way up here. And they built some really nice bridges and really saves a lot of time coming up to Payson area. And this is the main 260 that takes you up from the valley up to Payson. Then if you want to keep going past Payson, going in like a Woods Canyon Lake area or Heber, Overguard, Sholo, Pine Top, this is the way to go. And I've had some people ask me questions about pulling a trailer up, and I think this is probably the best way if you're going to the White Mountains to pull a trailer up. I know there's another road that goes up through the Apache Reservation, and it's a beautiful drive. It goes through like Globe and Superior, and that way it kind of goes up on the other side through Apache Junction, and you go up through Globe. And that's another way to go, and I think the highway eventually connects up close to Sholo. But that's a little bit more twisty-turny. But it is a beautiful drive, and it's about the same amount of time if you're in a vehicle, if you're not pulling a trailer. But I do believe there are more twists and turns as compared to this. This is kind of a nice way to get up, an easier drive. There's also a place between Benson and Wilcox on I-10 that looks like this through here. Just was thinking about that. I don't know why. With all these round boulders everywhere, just laying out. Now this is the Sycamore Creek area we're going to be coming down the hill into in just a minute. And then you can see straight ahead that little plateau rock up there. That's kind of where there's a pull-off near that plateau straight ahead. And there's a pull-off off the road where you can pull off and park. And a lot of folks come up from the valley and do ATV rides up here. There are just numerous trails up in here. And a lot of guys with their ATVs and the off-road vehicles, Jeeps and so on, they like to come up here and do in the springtime, in the fall. Not so much in the summertime because it does get kind of warm through here. But some real pretty ATV rides you can take through here, through the Sycamore Creek area. And trails that just go everywhere. As you come down this road, you'll, in a little bit off to the left side of the road, there'll be Four Peaks, which is another popular area. As we come down the hill, there's a place there you can park and pull off and camp.
I think this is where Dave, sometimes they come and do rides out here
Like I said, just a beautiful drive.
in this area. This is a staging area back there.
Oh, Dave Davis.
Dave Rentis.
Huh. How long would it take to get out here?
An hour. Not really a camp spot, it's more for off-roading. You can ride up and down the creek.
Now, as we come down through this area, I think this is called Mesquite Creek, and it's another area down just below here called Sycamore Creek, and it's also a way to get off the road here and go over to Four Peaks. And there's an OHV area here for Sycamore Creek, a parking area, and if you go off to the other side of the road, there's an OHV area for Four Peaks Wilderness area. You can also disperse camp in those areas. You'll see them in just a second as we go by. Notice the rocks, just more of those boulders and stuff. I just think that's so neat. And in just a second, off to the right, you'll see the sign that'll say Four Peaks to the right, or no, Four Peaks to the left, and Sycamore Creek turn to the right. And you can disperse camp in either one of those areas, although Sycamore Creek, that first area down there, is popular with shooters, so just keep that in mind. I think they shoot in some of those areas off to the right there. Not, maybe not. We did camp there one time, and it wasn't too bad, but I do know sometimes they can get real busy down there shooting, and sometimes even late into the night. Hey, safe travels wherever you're going, and hope you enjoyed this ride along down the Beeline Highway 87. And if you like this video and you like these kind of videos, let me know. Give it a thumbs up. Give me some comments and feedback. I'd appreciate it. Again, just enjoy the day and catch you on the next videos. Have a great one. Bye.